If you've ever wanted a shortcut to being instantly well-informed about a pivotal moment in history, well, you've definitely come to the right place.
We do the reading for you. We take the key documents, the research, the historical accounts, and we try to distill the most important and, I think, often surprising nuggets of knowledge just for you.
And today, wow, we are immersing ourselves in a massive moment of transition.
We really are. We're looking at the shift from, a local city-state to what would become a global empire.
Specifically, that foundational moment when the first organized Islamic armies looked beyond the Arabian Peninsula
and turned their gaze toward the formidable Roman presence in Syria.
And this isn't just a story of battles, is it?
No, not at all. It's a really detailed look at swift mobilization, at strategic genius that, frankly, defied geography, and perhaps most crucially, the surprising ethical and leadership blueprints that were laid down at the very, very start of the conquests.
Okay, so our mission today is, well, it's ambitious.
It is.
A deep dive into the initial campaigns leading up to and including the defining conquest of Damascus.
And we're going to be analyzing the narratives, the accounts that detail the organization, the complex decisions made by the early leadership, and, the extraordinary personalities that emerged right after the demise of Rasulullah.
This is the moment everything changed.
To understand the sheer velocity of this expansion, you have to start with the political and religious foundation for the entire operation.
Right, because this campaign wasn't spontaneous?
Not in the slightest. It was framed as the fulfillment of a prior command. The accounts make it really clear that Abu Bakr, the first Khalifa, the successor, was determined to execute a plan he said Rasulullah had intended.
Which was what?
To wage jihad in Syria before his passing.
And Abu Bakr's intent went far beyond just a swift military raid.
Oh, absolutely. He was sending a Muslim army, and this is, I think, a critical point. They were told to bring their families and their dependents to Syria.
Which signals a permanent mission, right? To expel the disbelievers.
Exactly. He wasn't just deploying troops. You could say he's deploying a new society.
And when he issued this call, the companions, the Ubba, what was their reaction?
It was an immediate and unanimous affirmation of obedience.
Okay.
And what's so fascinating is how they codified this authority. They didn't just agree, they directly referenced the command structure laid out in the divine word.
So they were making it clear that they were prepared for whatever he ordered.
Yes, because Allah had made it incumbent upon them to obey.
And they cited the specific verse, didn't they? Obey Allah and obey the messenger and those in authority over you.
That's the one. That single line defined the legal and spiritual mandate for every military campaign that followed.
It gave Abu Bakr, just an unquestioned executive authority.
The kind of authority you would absolutely need for what was about to be a highly volatile global strategy.
So, with that religious mandate established, Abu Bakr didn't wait around.
He did not pause for breath. The mobilization was swift, and it was, on a scale that was just unprecedented.
Okay, let's unpack this mobilization, because the first action was, as you said before, a logistical masterpiece.
It really was. He immediately penned these crucial letters, these communiques.
To who?
To the kings of Yaman, which is modern-day Yemen, to the Arab chiefs all across the peninsula, and to the people of Makkah.
So this wasn't a general announcement shouted from a rooftop?
No, this was targeted outreach to specific power centers. He knew exactly who he needed to bring on board.
And the message in these letters, what did it say?
The message was urgent and very specific. It was a call for quick preparation to wage jihad with their wealth and their lives.
He's asking for everything.
Everything. And he leveraged a known divine command to do it, citing the directive. Go forth lightly armed or heavily armed and wage jihad with your wealth and lives in the path of Allah.
So it's an appeal that really cuts across any old tribal lines.
It does. It centers everything entirely on religious duty.
And to manage this, this is rapid long-distance communication in the 7th century. Who did he pick to deliver the letters?
He chose Anas bin Malik, the attendant of Rasulullah, a very trusted figure.
And the speed of the response tells you everything, doesn't it?
It really does. The chroniclers note that Anas returned so quickly with what they call glad tidings that the Yemenites were fully compliant.
They didn't just agree, they were moving.
They were moving immediately, presenting themselves with all their equipment, their war materials, their armor.
What stands out in the descriptions of this response is, it seems like intense enthusiasm.
It's more than that. The chronicler Jabir bin Abdullah describes Anas reporting back that these people were accepting the order so quickly that they arrived with their hair all disheveled and their bodies just covered in dust.
So they literally just dropped everything and left their homes?
Immediately. And he emphasized that these weren't just random people, these were the chiefs of Yemen. Extremely brave, excellent horsemen arriving with their families.
Which again reinforces that strategic intent for long-term settlement.
Exactly. And Abu Bakr was, by all accounts, absolutely overjoyed by this.
I can only imagine. I mean, it's one thing to issue a call to arms, but it's another thing entirely to see it answered by legion after legion, arriving the very next day.
And he didn't wait for them in his office. Abu Bakr personally went out to welcome the incoming warriors, the Mujahideen.
So this wasn't just recruitment?
No, it was a societal shift, and you could see it happening right there in Al-Medina, with each tribe proudly carrying their own emblems and their flags.
The accounts give one specific, incredibly dramatic example, right? With the arrival of the Emyar tribe.
Yes, the first Yomani tribe to enter the city. And the details are amazing. They describe them wearing good armor, carrying these expensive swords, and their leader. He made a real statement.
Their chief, Thul Kala al-Himari, he made quite an entrance.
He really did. He identified his tribe and his abode, but then he recites this truly powerful, poetic challenge that must have just stunned everyone watching.
He stated clearly that their sight was set firmly on the Roman Empire.
And it was a declaration of, total conquest and replacement. He described his people, the Himyar, as lions of bravery.
And then he issues this shocking claim.
He says, "Our army has come, and on the Roman Empire is our sight. Syria will be made home with our might. For us is Damascus. We will fling her people into an abyss."
Wow. When you consider the Romans have been the dominant power for centuries, that poetry just represents an absolute unshakable confidence in their destiny.
It really does. And Abu Bakr clearly recognized the weight of this moment. He smiled, and he immediately turned to Ali bin Abi Talib.
And asked him something.
He asked if he remembered Rasulullah's prophecy that the arrival of the Himyar, specifically bringing their women and children, was the signal of Allah's help against the polytheists.
And Ali confirmed the prophecy.
He did, which underscores this idea that they viewed this mobilization not as some kind of gamble, but as a guaranteed divine promise playing out right in front of them.
That arrival of entire families, that detail just keeps coming back as the most significant part of this whole mobilization.
Because it signifies the goal wasn't plunder or, temporary expansion.
It was the creation of a new, stable frontier.
Yeah.
They were planting roots before the war had even properly begun.
But this mass influx, while it was a sign of spiritual success, it created an immediate and very tangible problem back in Al-Medina.
Overcrowding.
Exactly. The army just became too numerous for the small city to sustain.
The logistics broke down almost immediately.
They did. Food supplies became desperately low. They struggled to find enough grain and pasturage for the thousands of horses, mules, and camels that had come with the armies.
So this forced Abu Bakr's hand. He had to move quickly from mobilization to deployment.
He did, and the army chiefs called for action.
Qays bin Hubayra, a chief of the Mathi tribe, formally approaches the Khalifa.
And he essentially says, look, we have obeyed, we are prepared, but we can't stay here, especially the horses and the livestock.
So he requested permission to be sent out immediately to fight, or if the mission was delayed, to just go home.
And this is a great example of that early consultative governance. Abu Bakr didn't ignore the practical reality of the situation.
He recognized that the success of his summons had created this unsustainable concentration of manpower and resources.
The time for gathering was over. The time for dispersal and action was now.
So once they had these loyal, enthusiastic tribes, the next problem was the how.
How do you set the rules of engagement? How do you establish a disciplined, effective chain of command to guide this massive movement out of Al-Medina?
In Abu Bakr's leadership, it really shines here. He was meticulous in setting up a command structure that prioritized both military effectiveness and political harmony.
He was. He calls Yazid bin Abi Sufyan and gives him a flag in command over 1,000 horsemen.
But he didn't just appoint Yazid and leave it at that. He established a really complex shared command.
He did. He placed Al-Hijaz's famous horseman, Rabi'a bin Amir, under Yazid's command.
But he gives Yazid very specific, very detailed instructions on how to manage Rabi'a.
And that instruction is a lesson in shared consultative leadership. Abu Bakr tells Yazid that Rabia is a man of great status, great nobility, and he's known for his brave and innovative attack methods.
So he can't just be treated like a regular soldier.
No. Yazid was commanded to place Rabia in every single advance group and critically to consult with him and act upon his consultation.
And to avoid opposing his opinion.
Exactly. This ensures that military genius wasn't going to be stifled by a rigid hierarchy.
Now let's talk about the ethical blueprint. Before the army even left, Abu Bakr gave this comprehensive departure advice that truly sets this entire campaign apart in military history.
It really does. This was the moral and strategic context for operating in foreign lands.
It was a code of conduct.
It covered everything from internal management all the way to environmental policy.
So on military discipline, he warned them, do not cause men difficulty in marching, and do not punish your men harshly.
And they were consistently told to consult in every matter. This is all about building internal morale and preventing, internal defection.
But the core ethical principle, it seems to me, was about justice.
Without a doubt. He stressed, do not abandon justice and stay far from injustice and tyranny, because no tyrant nation has ever obtained success nor been victorious over another nation.
That elevates the whole purpose of the campaign. It's not just conquest anymore.
No, it's about implementing justice. And this emphasis was tied directly to their spiritual mandate.
He explicitly referenced the Quranic warning against fleeing in battle.
Right, unless it was a strategy of war or a retreat to your own troops. He reminded them that fleeing incurs the wrath of Allah.
So military conduct was intrinsically tied to religious commitment.
They were one and the same.
And here's where it gets truly interesting for, a modern observer. The laws of war laid down here were incredibly specific and, frankly, advanced for the 7th century.
Absolutely. He established clear prohibitions on targeting non-combatants. Do not slay any small children, old people, women, or pre-adolescents.
That rule alone is revolutionary for its time.
But it went beyond people. The instructions regarding the environment and property were designed for long-term administration, not short-term destruction.
Do not approach the harvests of trees. Crops should not be burnt, nor fruit trees cut.
Do not slaughter any animal which is impermissible. This completely prevents the use of scorched earth tactics.
Which ensures that once a territory was secured, it remained productive and viable.
Wait, I have to stop you there. Why protect the crops and trees? In the immediate aftermath of conquest, a conquering army often wants to destroy resources to prevent the enemy from recovering. This seems almost counterintuitive for a fast-moving campaign.
It does seem that way, but it's not counterintuitive if your goal is long-term stability and righteous governance.
Okay, explain that.
Well, if you conquer a land and you destroy its means of sustenance, what do you inherit?
A starving, resentful population that's going to constantly rebel.
Exactly. But by preserving the infrastructure and the environment, you immediately establish yourself as a better, more just administrator than the previous power.
So these rules were a strategic policy for securing long-term legitimacy.
They weren't just fighting the Romans. They were positioning themselves to inherit and govern their land successfully.
That makes perfect sense. And he also included a remarkable provision concerning religious freedom for certain groups.
Yes, specifically those undertaking monasticism.
They were instructed not to interfere with people in their monasteries. As long as they choose this isolationism, do not destroy their monasteries and do not kill them.
This respect for isolated religious devotion shows a high degree of distinction between peaceful religious groups and the military power of the opposition.
It's a very nuanced approach.
Now, moving back to the command structure, we hit a moment of some high political tension.
We do. Abu Bakr continued to appoint commanders, including Khalid bin Sufyan over Banu Kilab, whose reddish-white horses apparently delighted the Khalifa because they reminded him of a prophecy.
But then came the appointment of Sayyid bin Khalid.
And this is the first real political drama in this deep dive. Abu Bakr appointed Sayyid bin Khalid, a young man whom he considered more experienced than his own father and a very able horseman, as commander of the reconnaissance forces. That's 2,000 cavalry.
A huge responsibility. But this immediately drew the ire of Umar bin Al-Khattab,
one of the most powerful and influential figures in Al-Medina.
And Umar became visibly angry. He argued to Abu Bakr that others were better suited for the role than Sayyid.
Which put Abu Bakr in a genuinely difficult position. He felt awful about deposing Sayyid, but he also deeply valued Umar, who was renowned for his firm faith and excellent counsel.
The pressure was enormous.
It was. He even consulted with his wife, Isha, who confirmed that Umar always had the welfare of the faith at heart. Ultimately, Abu Bakr asked for the flag to be returned.
What's truly admirable here is how Said handled this very public deposition.
He didn't protest, he didn't complain.
No. He immediately returned the flag, declaring his dedication was untainted by rank. He stated, "I have dedicated my life for the service of the Din, the faith, and have placed myself firmly in the path of Allah. I will fight under the banner of Abu Bakr with a clean heart in any place and under anyone's command."
His noble resignation is a measure of the character that was expected of these early leaders.
The cause superseded personal ambition or title.
Exactly. It resolved the political friction gracefully while affirming the primary goal.
So with that settled, Abu Bakr still needed a commander for the massive coalition that was ready to depart, including the armies of Makkah, Thaqif, and Atramat.
And he appointed Amr bin al-Wa'il, setting the stage for the Palestine campaign.
And Abu Bakr's final counsel to Amr is a masterclass in leadership mentorship.
It really is. It wasn't just strategic, it was intensely paternal and spiritual. He advised Amr to fear Allah in secret and open, and to be like an affectionate father towards your men.
He emphasized maintaining modesty, avoiding the deception of the ego, and reminded him that consultation with veterans, especially those who fought at Badr, was mandatory.
This focus on the welfare of the troops, the frail and weak ones, even in the heat of a march, it shows a remarkable commitment to maintaining the fighting strength and morale of the army.
And he gave specific instructions on religious duties, like the proper timing of Allah, prayer, and the adhan, call to prayer.
But the most practical piece of advice regarding internal discipline came with a strategic warning.
What was that?
He said, as far as possible, avoid whipping anyone lest you should join the enemy and help them against you.
So cruelty wasn't just morally wrong, it was a security risk.
A huge security risk. You do not want a disgruntled soldier defecting and giving away your secrets to the Romans.
And finally, the strategic instructions for Amr.
He was told to take the Ayla route towards Palestine, which was a distinct path from the one Yazid bin Abi Sufyan was taking to Tabuk and Damascus.
And he received that unusual order to keep intelligence about Abu Ubaida's condition,
which suggests a constant fluid awareness of what all the parallel Muslim forces were doing across this vast Syrian theater of war.
So, as the Muslim forces moved, the Roman Empire was reacting.
They were. Christian Arabs living near Al-Medina quickly fed intelligence of the invasion to Emperor Heraclius. The news must have been terrifying.
And Heraclius calls his officials together and delivers an assessment that is highly revealing.
It really is. He saw the invasion not as a failure of his military,
but as a moral failure of the empire itself.
Exactly. He attributed the Muslim advance to Roman deviation from the gospel and their choice of tyranny. He saw the Arabs as God's retribution for their own moral corruption.
That framing is crucial, isn't it?
It is. If the emperor believes your enemy is an instrument of divine punishment, it's going to breed fear and demoralization among his own troops.
And he compounded his error by describing the Arabs as a weak, hungry people, driven by famine.
This fundamental underestimation, seeing their drive as need, not destiny, would prove disastrous for the Romans.
The campaign opened at Tabuk. Yazid bin Abi Sufyan arrived first.
And the Romans, led by Sergius, were confident. But the Muslims were inspired with a clever ambush strategy.
This shows that the consultative leadership was working.
It does. Yazid ordered Rabi'a bin Amir to hide in ambush with 1,000 men. Yazid then led his own 1,000 men into a direct confrontation, drawing the Romans into a preset killing ground.
A classic pincer movement.
A classic. And this calculated ambush resulted in a crushing blow to the Romans.
The chroniclers report a shocking casualty count. 2,200 Romans destroyed versus only 120 Muslims martyred.
Mostly from the Yamani tribe, Sakasek. The shock of the Roman leadership was evident when Sergius tried to negotiate peace terms after that initial humiliation.
What did he offer?
He offered each Muslim soldier 1 dinar and a camel load of grain.
But Rabi'a bin Amir was uncompromising.
Completely. He rejected the terms and firmly established the 3 non-negotiable choices that would define all future conquests: Islam, jizya, the tax, or the sword.
And Sergius, utterly underestimating Rabi'a, just scoffed at him, calling him a Bedouin.
But Rabi'a's response wasn't military, it was theological. He calmly defended the tenets of Islam the Night Journey, the compulsory fast of Ramadan.
All of which a Roman priest who was present confirmed were written in their own scriptures.
Right, forcing the priest to concede, truth is with these people.
That theological certainty, paired with the military audacity of the ambush, must have been potent.
Extremely. And when Sergius realized Rabi'a was the same Bedouin who had killed his own brother the day before, he flew into a rage and attacked.
Rabi'a struck Sergius down, leading to an intense, chaotic battle.
And the Muslim force was only saved by the timely arrival of the second Muslim force under Shirabul bin Hassana.
So, moving parallel to all this, Amr bin al-As was advancing towards Palestine.
And he has this dream of traversing a dark, difficult mountain path before reaching a lush green place of comfort.
Symbolizing victory after great difficulty.
And difficulty they met. Heraclius sent a massive army of 100,000 men under the commander Rubius to Ajnadain.
Because they viewed Palestine as absolutely critical to Roman prestige.
And Rubius was described in the accounts as a military mind equal to none in the empire.
Yet despite those massive numbers, the victory in Palestine was swift and decisive.
Amr bin al-As secured a massive haul of booty, including weapons, money, and 600 captives.
And the cost was low for the Muslims. Only 7 martyred, including Suraka bin Ati and the young Sa'id bin Khalid.
The noble youth who had accepted his deposition so gracefully, proving his dedication to the cause, was absolute.
The accounts describe the fighting vividly. One companion, Ibn Umar, recounts hacking at a bulky Roman commander's spear until it broke, and then striking him down. It shows the reliance on personal combat skills.
It does, and Amr bin al-As later claimed the slaying of 11,000 Romans in his letter to Abu Ubaidah.
Now we pivot to the arrival of Khalid bin Al-Walid, the commander known as the Sword of Allah.
Abu Bakr redirected him from Iraq, appointing him commander over multiple armies with the task of crossing the vast desert of Asamawa to reinforce the Syrian front.
And this is where we get to probably the most astonishing logistical feat of the entire campaign.
It really is. Khalid had to cross a stretch of desert so scarce that his army was, in his own words, on the verge of death due to a lack of water.
This challenge was an existential threat to the whole army.
It was. So he sought advice from an expert in desert survival, Rafi bin Umaira at Alayt.
And Rafi proposed the famous and seemingly brutal strategy for desert survival.
He did. They kept 30 camels thirsty for 7 days straight.
7 days.
Then they were given water, their mouths were tied shut to prevent regurgitation, and they were slaughtered 10 per day.
And the water stored in their bellies was extracted, filled into leather bags.
And specifically given to the horses, the humans ate the meat.
Wait, so they essentially used camels as mobile biological water tanks, slaughtering them not for meat, but purely for the life-saving moisture stored in their stomachs.
That's the strategy.
That level of ingenious desperation defies conventional military history. How could a strategy, which sounds so ruthless, be executed effectively while maintaining army discipline?
I think it speaks to the absolute trust in Khalid's leadership and the severity of their predicament.
It was a choice between survival through ingenuity or certain death through geographical impossibility.
Exactly. This system sustained them until they reached a gushing spring beneath an arak tree at Karakir and Sawa. This single crossing cemented Khalid's legend as a commander who could overcome any obstacle.
And as Khalid's army continued its march toward Damascus and Butana, they had a curious encounter at a place called Araka.
They did. They found sheep, camels, a Christian man drinking wine, and crucially, a manacled Arab named Amr bin Ufail.
And Amr bin Ufail had been brutally beaten, his skull cracked.
After rebuking the Christian man for drinking wine, the Christian had claimed the wine was water, and when Amir tried to smell it, he was struck and tied up because the Christian suspected he was one of the men of Muhammad.
And Khalid's response shows his temperament, doesn't it?
It does. He smiles at Ibn Ufail, confirms his identity as a Muslim army commander. He confiscates the sheep and camels, aggressively digs up the foundation of the Christians' way station, and levies attacks on the people of Araka before moving on.
He's demonstrating that any resistance or disrespect to his followers would be met with swift, overwhelming force. And he brought Amr bin Ufail along with him.
And Khalid's rapid advance brought him to Bura, a key strategic location right before Damascus.
Here, the military might of the Muslims met the intrigue of Roman governance, which led to a complex surrender.
Khalid had an exchange with the city's governor, a man named Romanus.
And the governor, perhaps surprisingly, acknowledged that the Muslims were on the truth.
He even prophesied they would conquer Iraq and Syria. He offered peace and safe passage back to their lands, hoping to avoid bloodshed.
But Khalid was firm.
As always, he maintained the standard 3 choices: Islam, Jizya, or the sword.
And Romanus, terrified that his own people would kill him for acknowledging the Muslims' legitimacy, secretly escaped the city walls.
where he was captured by Abdurrahman bin Abu Bakr. But the story takes a sharp twist.
A conversion.
The conversion. Romanus not only converted to Islam, but his wife then revealed she had already converted after having a dream involving Mu'am and Rasulullah.
The conversion of a key Roman governor, facilitated by divine prophecy and domestic circumstances. It shows how deeply faith and conflict were intertwined.
And Romanus then turned his knowledge of the city against his former masters.
He helped Abdurrahman bin Abi Bakr lead 100 men through a hole he dug under the city wall, attached to his own house.
They quickly opened the city gates, leading to the conquest.
The accounts note that Khalid ensured stability, imposing the jizya on the people of Bura and appointing a governor of their choice.
And Romanus became an active participant, fighting fiercely in every subsequent battle. It just shows the speed with which a key opponent could turn into a dedicated ally.
The campaigns are filled with these incredible military narratives, but none are more celebrated than the acts of individual heroism, especially among the women warriors.
We have to spend time on the story of Dirar bin al-Azwar and his sister Khala bin al-Azwar.
So Dirar, a fierce Muslim warrior, was captured by the Romans.
And Khala's response was immediate and incredibly dramatic. She puts on armor, arms herself with a spear and a sword, and rides out toward the enemy camp like a blazing flame.
The descriptions are so vivid. They say she was wearing black cloth, obscured by her armor, riding with a kind of courage that astonished even the veteran Muslims.
She fought with terrifying ferocity, breaking through the ranks and reciting this emotional poetry about the pain of her captured brother.
And Khalid spotted this mysterious warrior and insisted on knowing his identity.
Only for her to reveal she was Khala, admitting she had hesitated to speak only out of modesty, being a woman behind the veil.
And Khalid was clearly thrilled by her bravery.
He was. He immediately appointed her to lead a rescue mission with Rafi bin Umaira and 100 horsemen.
They found Dirar imprisoned and freed him after a fierce battle at Wadi Aliyat.
And Khala, shouting Allahu Akbar, was instrumental in that fight. Dirar, overjoyed, thanked Allah for uniting him with his sister and praised her courage.
This anecdote shows that the battlefield wasn't strictly segregated and that courage transcended gender roles in this high-stakes environment.
And this theme of fierce dedication continues with Aban bint Utba bin Rabia.
She was a new bride, having just married her cousin at Ajnain.
But the joy was tragically short-lived. Her husband was killed at the Battle of Damascus by a poisoned arrow fired by Thomas, Heracles' own son-in-law.
Instead of retiring to mourn, Aban dedicated herself completely to jihad.
She refused comfort, armed herself with her husband's weapons, and went directly to the front line at the Thomas Gate, demanding to know who killed her husband.
And she proved to be an expert archer. Thomas, the Roman commander who killed her husband, was renowned as an ascetic warrior and sage in Damascus.
Yes, he came out. Aban struck him square in his remaining eye with an arrow.
Thomas fled, screaming in agony. The doctors had to saw off the arrow shaft, leaving the point lodged in his eye.
That single focused act of vengeance by a newly widowed woman forced the Roman commander to retreat, severely demoralizing the defenders and earning her a place of respect among the warriors.
Now let's look at the strategic duels which were so vital for morale, especially Khalid bin Al-Walid's confrontation with Uriel.
The Roman general known chillingly as the Snatcher of Souls and Angel of Death.
When Uriel approached Khalid for dialogue, Khalid immediately launched into psychological warfare.
He did, responding with intense confidence and some very dark humor, saying, "O enemy of Allah, your namesake is in search of you to send you to hell and is therefore remembering you."
Uriel tried to buy peace, offering 1,000 mythgol of gold, that's nearly 10 pounds of gold plus silk clothing and horses, to ransom a captured Roman's head.
And Khalid's retort was just brutal and defiant. "Your disgraced head is jizya." He refused to be bought off.
And during the duel, Khalid's horse tired, causing Uriel to pause, thinking Khalid feared him and was about to flee.
But Khalid recognized this arrogance, dismounted, immediately attacked Uriel's horse, brought it down, and arrested Uriel. It was a victory achieved through military skill and mental fortitude.
After this, Warden, the governor of Heba, terrified by the string of defeats, devised a desperate conspiracy.
A personal one against Khalid. He consulted his patricians to scheme against him.
The plan was high stakes. Call Khalid for a peace dialogue near a secret ambush point where 10 of their top warriors were hidden.
The idea was to engross Khalid in conversation until he was at ease, then spring the trap and eliminate the Muslim commander, hoping to sow chaos in their ranks.
But the Romans had an Achilles heel: David, a Christian Syrian envoy sent by Warden to deliver the fake peace message.
And David was internally conflicted. He hated the bloodshed and was deeply troubled by the deceit.
And Khalid, always suspicious, immediately confronted him, stating that if his words harbor some kind of plot and scheme, he should know that scheming was Khalid's specialty.
David, terrified by Khalid's reputation and his directness, confessed everything, seeking amnesty for himself and his family. And he provided the exact location of the 10 Roman ambushers.
Khalid, now confirmed in his suspicion, was described as the rock of the fort of planning.
He immediately prepared a counter-scheme. He divided his men, appointing Durar bin al-Azwar and 10 others to ambush the ambushers before dawn.
And here we get the ultimate Durar anecdote.
We do! He chose to approach alone, stripping naked except for his loincloth and sword, to sneak into the Roman position undetected.
He found the 10 Romans sleeping, tied them up quickly, but decided not to kill them yet.
Right, so that the confrontation with Warden would be truly shocking.
The fatal dialogue between Warden and Khalid then began. Warden attempted to leverage pity, offering charity to the Arabs, whom he condescendingly called the weakest of nations, suffering from drought and starvation.
And Khalid's rejection was fierce and absolute. He stated that Allah had made them independent of Roman charity.
He reiterates the 3 choices: Islam, Jizya, or the sword, and ups the ante by explicitly adding that they would seize the Roman wealth and enslave their wives and children. He refused to be seen as a vulnerable target.
So Warden, still confident in his hidden ambushers, lunged at Khalid.
Khalid wrestled him and hit him on the side. Warden shouted for his men to rush out, claiming he had captured the Arab commander.
But as the Romans rushed toward the scene, they were met by a terrifying sight. Durar bin al-Azwar, bare-chested and roaring like a lion.
And Warden saw him and was paralyzed with fear, begging Khalid to kill him quickly, saying he hated the sight of that devil.
And Khalid simply replied, "Here is your killer."
Durar killed Warden and flung his head towards the Romans, shouting, "Allahu Akbar."
This spectacular end to the governor and his plot led to the immediate rout of the Roman army. The ambush had been utterly reversed, cementing Khalid's reputation for tactical brilliance and ruthlessness.
All of these successes brought the Muslim armies to the walls of Damascus.
And the siege began, intensifying over 21 grueling days. The Romans inside were desperate. They had lost all hope of reinforcement from Emperor Heraclius, who remained distant in Antioch.
This desperation led to a chaotic, simultaneous surrender attempt on 2 opposite sides of the city,
which resulted in the famous dual conquest of Damascus.
Okay, so at the Al-Jabiyah gate, the Damascenes sought peace.
And a Roman priest named Jonah, son of Mercius, defected. He informed Khalid of an ancient prophecy written in the prophecies of Daniel, that the Muslim companions would conquer the lands.
And Jonah dug a hole from his house under the city wall and helped 100 Muslim men enter.
These men, mostly Himyaris, armed themselves inside his house, broke the locks on the gate, and allowed Abu Ubaidah's army to enter through a peaceful surrender.
And Abu Ubaidah, stationed there, accepted a treaty of surrender and a guarantee of safety from 100 priests and elders,
who were desperate to save their churches, including the massive cathedral of John the Baptist.
But here is the critical complication.
Abu Ubaidah did not sign the treaty.
Why not?
Precisely because he knew he was not the commander-in-chief. He gave his word and implemented the agreement, but the formal authority was held elsewhere.
And elsewhere, Khalid bin Al-Walid was operating under the assumption that the siege was purely military,
completely unaware of the peace negotiations on the other side. He smashed through the eastern gate with the sword.
He entered through conquest, killing and capturing Romans until he reached the Church of Mary,
where he met Abu Ubaidah, who had just entered peacefully, with priests and monks walking ahead of him.
That confrontation must have been explosive.
It was. Khalid was furious that Abu Ubaidah had accepted a surrender without his explicit permission.
Khalid argued fiercely that since he entered by force, the entire city must be treated as territory won by the sword.
Meaning the wealth and the populace were spoils of war. He told Abu Ubaidah, "I entered with the sword through conquest, and they had no defense left."
But Abu Ubaidah stood firm on his word, arguing for restraint and piety.
He insisted he had accepted the surrender and implemented the written agreement. He stressed, "Fear Allah, O commander. By Allah, I have accepted their surrender and implemented it."
And he made a powerful strategic point. If the Muslims betrayed a peaceful surrender, no other city in Syria would ever yield to terms again.
It would ruin their reputation. So the generals had to step in and advise arbitration to resolve this clash between military genius and ethical commitment.
What did they decide?
A pragmatic split. Khalid would administer the area he conquered by the sword, and Abu Ubaidah would administer the area gained by peace.
And they would write to the Khalifa, Abu Bakr, for the final overarching decision on the city's status.
But before this arbitration could be fully ratified, news of the previous massive victory at Ajnadain finally reached Medina.
Khalid wrote to Abu Bakr detailing the sheer scale of that battle, reporting 50,000 Romans killed versus 575 Muslims martyred.
When the messenger, Ibn Umayyad, brought the letter, Abu Bakr immediately fell into prostration out of thanks for the divine favor. He read the news aloud, and the joyous victory spread like wildfire throughout Medina.
This moment of immense triumph was, however, overshadowed by an unseen transition of power.
It was. The chroniclers note that Abu Bakr was reading Khalid's victory letter only about a month before his own demise.
And upon his passing, the mantle of leadership passed to Umar bin al-Khattab.
And one of Umar's first and most defining executive actions regarding the Syrian front was a dramatic shift in command.
He dismissed Khalid bin Al-Walid
and appointed Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah as the overall commander over the Muslims.
This is a profound detail, because it underscores the foundational value of the new leadership.
It does. The accounts specify that Umar appointed Abu Ubaidah knowing he was undesirous of that post.
The man who sought peace, was modest, and was known as the trustworthy one of this ummah.
Superseded the fierce, brilliant, and militarily dominant conqueror, Khalid.
It established a preference for piety and trustworthiness over raw, unbridled military ambition in the supreme field command.
And it defined the long-term character of the burgeoning empire.
So what does this deep dive into the initial campaigns leading to Damascus mean for you, the learner, looking back at this seismic transition in history?
I think the key takeaway is the dynamic definition of early success. It wasn't just faith, and it wasn't just military force.
Right.
It was an extreme piety, reflected in that unquestioning obedience to the Khalifa, coupled with astonishing strategic ingenuity.
Khalid's desert logistics, the clever use of ambushes, the immediate enforcement of the three choices.
Exactly. And the leadership under Abu Bakr defined success not just by winning, but by how they won.
That comprehensive ethical blueprint, the protection of children, women, crops, trees, and the respect for monks, that wasn't just a moral stand, was it?
No, it was a tactical strategy designed to secure long-term loyalty and ensure the lasting viability of the territories they acquired.
They were building an empire that could govern, not just conquer.
And finally, the conquest of Damascus itself showed the inherent tension in that system.
It hinged on the immediate dramatic conflict between two valid military approaches.
Conquest by force, championed by Khalid, versus peaceful surrender and restraint, championed by Abu Ubaidah.
And that tension had to be resolved for the empire to move forward coherently.
And it was resolved decisively by the second Khalifa, Umar. Despite Khalid's string of massive victories, the eventual command structure favored Abu Ubaidah, the trustworthy and pious one.
This raises a truly profound question, something for you to mull over as you process this history.
In a time of vast conquest, when the very survival of the nascent empire depended on military success, was the greatest value ultimately placed on military genius? The unbridled, aggressive might of Khalid, or on trustworthy piety, modesty, and commitment to peaceful terms, as embodied by Abu Ubaidah?
History shows us that you need both qualities to expand an empire. But the choice made by Umar, favoring the leader who was undesirous of that post, suggests that for the lasting political success and ethical foundation of a civilization, the temperament of piety and trustworthiness may ultimately outweigh even the most spectacular military prowess.
A powerful thought on the nature of lasting power.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the conquest of Damascus. We'll see you next time.